Oh yes, so the final exam, how it works. There's two documents on LMS. There'll be one that's called questions and one that's called worksheet. You open up the questions, you open them both up. In the questions document, you actually type out the answers. Well, no, the spreadsheet questions, you answer them in the spreadsheet. So the question is here. For example, fill in the timeout column showing the number of days between discharge and readmission. That's worth 2 marks. Little bit of instruction there. And so you open up the worksheet. And, oh yes, the worksheet has multiple tabs in it. And so you've got to go find the tab that I'm talking about. Q1, for example. There's a timeout column. I want the number of days between that and that. So I see equals that minus that. And, sorry? Oh yeah. Really, I would have got that question wrong. Okay, first thing, read the question. Yeah, that's about it. That is not yet. Okay, so I swear, from what was the question? Readmission to discharge? Yeah. Lovely. Trick question. Something that somebody showed me in lab the other day, which was really good. Maybe you're probably here because you're the kind of people who are here. Is you see that thing? See the little dot in the corner? Yeah. It's a very useful little dot. But where it's useful here is you double click on it. It copies that cell all the way down. Was that? Yeah, still okay. Yeah, good. And it was very. I've been trying to tell everyone about it. Because very excited. And so it copies the formula down. It translates the references. I think if you do something like limbs 1-308, and you double click on that, it'll. Yeah, I was so excited about this new thing. Anyways, be careful with new toys. Yeah, so something like that. See, that was less than 2 minutes. So yeah, so there's 120 marks in the exam. Each question and there's 120 minutes in the exam. So that question should take you 2 minutes. If it takes you longer than 2 minutes, you're behind. If it takes you less than 2 minutes, you go, yes, I can spend a bit more time on the next one. So that's the idea. Go through all the questions. Sorry?
If you take 3 minutes in the first question, then you're already...
Yeah. But no, you'll take less than 2 minutes. On the first one, anyways. The thing about computer exams is you think, oh, that's really easy. And then you sort of go down this rat hole and you think, oh, I'll just Google that, And it's really easy to lose track of time. All the other exams, this is the exam where people just leave half the exam. They get to the end and they go, oh, I didn't even get to the Word document, So, yeah, be careful with your time. Feel free to, abandon a question because there'll be better questions, more questions later on that might be worth more marks. And you can do easier. Sort it, length of stay, do some manual things. Here's that VLOOKUP thing. You can use a range lookup, or you can use an if statement. You've got to do a big fancy if statement there. And then just make it a bit pretty. Any questions about that? I can make it a bit bigger for you to see. Yeah. Cool. So the first question is kind of just basic Excel skills. Everyone should get that. The next question usually is about like VLOOKUPs and a bit more using an actual database generally, if you can do something with a pivot table, do it with a pivot table because it's very powerful and it slices the data, it selects out columns, it summarizes columns. So for each procedure block. So as soon as you see like for each procedure block, you think, oh, pivot table with a procedure block on the right-hand side, left-hand side. So yeah, pivot tables, filters. Do you want me to do any of these?
Yes.
Which one?
Pivot table.
Sorry? The pivot table. Okay, great. So create a sheet named Q2B. For each procedure block, show the average length of stay, the number of records in this procedure block. So we go to question 2 on the exam. That's not that one. There. Question 2. So what we want to do is we want to find the procedure block for those ones. Well, the first thing is, procedure block isn't even in this table. So we think, oh, we've got to go look it up from the procedure lookup over here. So procedure is there, and the block is there. So we add a column called procedure block. No marks for spelling. So we're going to look up that value there equals, if we look up, make sure I spell it right, comma, go find the procedure codes. I find it's quite much better to select the entire column for the lookup, because then you don't have to worry about relative references. You can move it, you can copy it up and down, and it doesn't change. And oftentimes you are wanting to copy it up and down. So select all the columns there, comma. We want the second column to return. We want the procedure block returning, and the all important false. Great. And so that the procedure block for there is 895. We can double click on that and fill that in. So we've got a lot of NAs because the procedure block is blank, but that's fine. Now we want to create a pivot table based on that procedure block. We want the average length of stay per the block. So we insert a pivot table. And we want to insert it in a new worksheet because we need to create a sheet for our results. We want to call that Q2B. And so we wanted for the procedure block, we wanted the average length of stay. So we want procedure block down there, and we want the length of stay up here. So that's the sum of length of stay. We want the average length of stay. We would change that to an average. Fantastic. And what was the other? We want the count of the number of, for the average, and the number of records in each procedure block. So the count of the number of records. So for that one, we can just grab anything and count it. Just like you can count anything, we'll just grab procedure block in again and count it. Great, so we've got the count of the number of records, we've got the procedure block, and so that 5 is 1 record. So it's not quite sparsely populated. And then I think the last thing it says is exclude admissions with no procedure and exclude procedure blocks for representing only a single admission. So we want to get rid of the ones, and we want to get rid of the NAs. So, what do we data filter? So I can't filter that. We want to filter on that. We filter there. Our value filters. Yeah, so we want to say the counter procedure block does not equal to 1.
And that got rid of all the ones. And then we also want to filter on, we want a label filter. We want does not equal NA. Hash in/A. Great. Beautiful. So we got rid of the, oh, no, we didn't get rid of the ones though. That's a problem. Because it got rid of my value filter. So we're going to have to say, does not equal, we'll have to do it in a different way. We'll have to do it, doesn't equal to 1, and then we also want to filter procedure block. And we don't have the, yeah. This is the part that takes 15 minutes because you go, oh yeah, I don't know how to do that. The easiest way in the exam situation is to copy it and then and just filter it manually. Yeah, exactly. You know, when you get to a situation like that, you just think, well, it's taking too long. I'll filter that data. Filter. I don't want the ones, and I don't want the NAs. Beautiful. Cool. So there's your answer. It's not beautiful. You get a few marks for beautification. So maybe you'll do home. Is there there's a way to make it all beautiful. I can't remember. Anyways, I think make it bold on top. Happy. Yeah. 2.2. For DRG for each sex. That's it.
DRG, do you mean like every single DRG?
Yeah. A pivot table. Yeah. If you can do it in a pivot table, do it in a pivot table. That's the trick with those questions. So Q2, we want the average age for each DRG and sex. Is that right?
Age and sex. No, age for
Each DRG and sex. Yeah. Right. Okay. So that's really easy. Insert pivot table. New worksheet. We want. I'm just trying to make it a bit longer. DRG is in rows, sex is in columns, and the age is in values, an average age. Done. That was less than 5 minutes. So if you can do it in a pivot table, it's easy. Yeah. How was that? Yeah. This one here, in the column name diagnosis description, fill in the diagnosis description for the sheet diagnosis lookup. How would you do that? How would you approach that question? VLOOKUP, yeah. Because it says lookup. That's always a clue. Oh, that didn't zoom in very well. That's why. Yeah. VLOOKUP there. Pivot table. Even where it says create a bar chart comparing the number of admissions per day per week as a percentage of the total number of admissions overall, you do that as a pivot table, and then create a bar chart based on it. Color the Saturday and Sunday bars differently than the other days. Great. So, questions about what are we doing for time? Oh, we don't have much time left. I'll show you how to do one of those break it up into database questions. So that's the whole ugly database question. Yeah, Jane's Hip Replacement Service Pty Limited tracks mechanical hips and their surgeons. So a good thing with these kind of questions is to think about what are the lists of things. So is there Jane's hip replacement service? Is that a list of things? Is there multiple Jane's hip replacements in the world? Yeah, so there's one of them, you don't need a multiple one. In that first sentence, is there any words that are plural? Hips.
Surgeons.
Lovely. Hips, surgeons. Those are probably going to be tables. If it says, well, I want to keep track of them, and there's many of them, that we do that. Next line here. Every mechanical hip has an operation date, patient, device, serial number, product ID, product name, product category, and category description. So what are those things? Is there multiple, is there S's in that sentence? Is there any plurals in that sentence? Not really. Why did I give you that information? What is it describing? The question is about creating a database. What is an operation date? What is a patient? Attributes, yeah. So a hip is going to have attributes. Operation date. Patient, serial number. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Beautiful. Every surgeon has a surgeon ID, name, email address. What's that? The surgeon, yeah, has attributes. An individual surgeon can implant one or more hips. What is that telling us? What is that telling us in an entity relation? It's talking about the relationship. So now we can start to draw the diagram. We've got hip, we've got surgeon, and we've got implant. And a single surgeon can implant one or more hips, so many hips. A hip can also be implanted by multiple surgeons. So I have a single hip. How many surgeons can implant me? Tons. Let's have a party. Let's have a hip implant party. In this case, each surgeon receives a specific percentage of the responsibility for that operation, and supposedly the money too. Where's responsibility going to live? Where's that attribute, responsibility, going to live in our database here? Sorry? Well, if surgeon, but then if there's a percent responsibility, what happens when they have their next operation? Where do you put the next percent surgery? Sorry? It's a table in between. In fact, when it's a many-to-many relationship, you can have attributes in the relationship. So each relationship has got that attribute. Complications related to operations. So where's the complications going to live? Where does the operation live in this diagram so far? Sorry? In the hip? Implant. Yeah, I think it's there. So we don't say. A hip can be implanted on a single hip. Yeah, it's interesting. Is it the hip? In fact, yeah, I think that the complications as well. So it's not actually a hip. It's a hip operation, and that has complications. Because you don't want to, each surgeon doesn't get a percentage of the responsibility for the complication. They're kind of jointly responsible for it. Or yeah. Jane wants to send out happy hip replacement annual emails. Do we have enough information here to send out happy hip replacement annual emails? Do we have enough information in our current diagram which has these attributes and these attributes? Can we send out happy hip replacement annual emails? Why not? What are we missing?
Patient ID.
Patient ID, yeah. We need information about a patient. Email, yeah.
Well, actually, there's,
Yeah.
doesn't it depend on who Jay wants to send it to?
That's true. You may be sending it to the surgeon saying you just done a, that's good.
Surgeon's ID.
Yeah, right.
They-
That was a bonus mark. You both, if you had either one in there, it would be okay. That's true. But yeah, if you're going to read my mind, it would be the search to the patient. But good point, I should for that. Contact patients when there's a hip device recall. Will that give us enough information to contact the patients? That we need their email address, probably their phone number too, really, because yeah.
So Dennis, for
Yeah.
a question like that, we'll have to draw that entity out still, but with no lines linking to any.
It's not useful if it doesn't have any lines. So then you got to think about what's the relationship. So is patient related to surgeon or is patient related to hip operation? Yeah, it's a much more intimate thing there. What's the relationship between patient and hip operation? Has. Or endures, maybe is the better word. So I'm a single patient. How many hip operations can I have? Many, yeah. Well, at least 2. I'm a single hip operation. How many patients can I have? I'm a single hip operation. How many patients can I have? 1, yeah. Oh, honey, let's go for a mutual hip operation.